Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start, if that's all right with everybody. People will come in, that's fine. Hi, how are you guys? Is everyone doing good? An exciting day. I just tweeted this. I already spilled my coffee out in the lobby, so sorry if you stepped in that or anything. Housekeeping was coming, so it's good. Hopefully it's all been cleaned up and taken care of by now. But I do get a little excited sometimes, so probably shouldn't be drinking any more coffee, but that's all right. Before I start, I just want to do a quick ask. Who in here, are you guys GitHub users? Anyone in here? Mostly not? I don't ever want to assume people know what GitHub is. That's kind of a bold assumption, I guess. But for anyone who doesn't know what GitHub is, we provide a place for people to go, software developers in particular, to go and collaborate on code. And in a social way, that's kind of our thing, is the social aspect of it. Collaboration is a big deal for us. So it's a really nice tool to use. And we hopefully make it really easy, and we use it on top of the Git version control system, which there's another session going on right now if you're really excited about that. This is not technical at all. So if that's what you're looking for, you should probably go see his, because it will be awesome, I'm sure. So I'm Elizabeth. I do work for GitHub. I work on the community team. I used to be a developer. I worked in PHP for a really long time. You can groan now. It's fine. I'm over it. It's good. I did e-commerce web development, so that was super fun. It was actually not too bad. But then I got tired of it, and I discovered that my passion is community, because to me, this is where all the awesome stuff happens, is at conferences and user groups and things like that. So that's kind of like the heart and soul of our industry, really. And so that's where I started dedicating all my time. And someone actually decided they wanted to pay me for that, so that was amazing, and kind of went on from there, and I landed at GitHub. So I'm really, really excited to be working for GitHub. I love GitHub. It's an awesome company. So this is not a rah-rah GitHub, yay, we're awesome kind of a talk. It's mostly just to get you thinking about the way you use your tools. And so I know there is this tenet that says if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And there is some truth to that. But I also think that if we have tools in our toolbox that we already know really, really well, then there's no reason why we can't apply them in unique ways to solve some of our problems in unique ways. So that's what this talk is about, just to kind of get you thinking about what you have access to already, maybe some of the problems that you can solve in a different way. So this is a saw, obviously. And I don't know if anybody has seen a saw like this before. Do you guys know who makes this saw? Anybody? Yell it out. Maybe you can read it. This is made by a company called Stradivarius, right? And if you're familiar with that company, they also make things like violins and other awesome musical instruments. So this is not a saw that you would use to necessarily chop the wood in your backyard with, but it is a musical saw. And I think that's kind of a representation of what this talk's about. And as an aside, if you've never heard a musical saw before, you should totally go to YouTube and just click in musical saw. And it is amazing. It's like haunting and beautiful and really kind of creepy, but yet just crazy, crazy awesome. So go do that. Not right now, but when you're done. So this is kind of just to sum it up. Like somebody wanted to make music in a different way, and they thought, hey, let me just try this saw. And turns out it was pretty awesome, the result. And a little disclaimer here. Oh, I have the clicker, but yet I still walk over here. I guess I don't need to do that anymore. A little disclaimer. So GitHub, we love repositories, right? Like that's our thing. So we have access to a lot of them. So your mileage may vary a little bit on this, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that they can really, really be useful, and you'll see how I mean in a minute. So when I joined GitHub, it was December 2012, and there was one person on our community team. Her name is Cami, and she's wonderful. She was doing all of the community outreach for GitHub. So she was doing all the drink ups, all of the charity events, all of the nonprofit requests, because we offer free accounts for nonprofits. She was doing all the education requests, because we offer free accounts for students. And she was doing all the in-house office tours, like anything pretty much that had anything to do with community. Cami did this. And so she was kind of nuts. I don't know. You should probably email her, cami@github.com, and just be like, dude, you're awesome. She would love that. But so she was doing all this stuff. So when I joined, then a few months later, my counterpart joined. We took over specifically the sponsorships part of things. So we would sponsor conferences like this, or OSCON or whatever. So I work North, South, Central America, and my counterpart does Europe and the rest of the world. So in a matter of months, couple months, weeks, we went from 1 person on the team to 3 people on our team. And it turns out that was a little challenging. Not only were we had this huge backlog of work to do, but now we have to kind of coordinate with other people, and it wasn't just all on Cammie's shoulders anymore. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the issues that we had and how we solved them. And maybe you'll have some similar things in your lives as well. So we did have some growing pains. The first one was that all of the discussions that were happening were in inboxes. And this is really not great for a few reasons. First off, if it's in an inbox, nobody can see it but the people who are in that email thread, right? And that's not always great, because other people might have valuable insight or context to the conversation, and if they don't even know what's happening, there's no way that they can collaborate with you as well. So not only could people not see what we were doing, not see what kind of requests we were getting or what we were doing without us, having to tell everybody every time, nobody else could offer their input at the time of the conversation. And I'm a PHP developer, so I know the PHP community really, really well. But the Ruby community, somewhat. .NET community, somewhat. Perl community, not really. So, we would get a request from Perl conference for sponsorship. Well, I got no idea. I don't know if this is a good conference or not. Is this something we should support and be a part of or what? I have no idea. But maybe there's somebody at GitHub that did know. But they don't even know the conversation's happening. So the not being able to collaborate with each other, the lack of transparency, those things were huge for us, huge problems. And also, email, right, gets buried. We get buried in emails. So something really important, there's a very good chance it's going to end up at the bottom of the list on page 2 by tomorrow. Like, I personally get so much email. It's crazy. So that was a real problem for us. Things were getting lost in the email boxes. And then finally, we didn't have any historical context at all. So if I went to Cammie and said, what did we do last year? She would have to go find her emails and forward me every email she could find about this conference or event or whatever it was. I mean, it was really not great. It was not a great solution. Very problematic for us. Our second pain was that information was really hard to collect. Like, you'd think it'd be pretty simple if you have a conference. There's a certain amount of information I need to know in order for me to make a decision of something that we can give you money for. So, like, how many people are going to be there? What's the topic? Where is it? When is it? Those kinds of issues. But it turns out like there was a whole lot of back and forth with our conference organizers just to get some simple information. So it was really, really inefficient, this flow of information. And finally, pain number 3, we were using spreadsheets. Oh my God, we just threw everything in a spreadsheet, and just everything about the conference was in this huge, ginormous spreadsheet. It was terrible, and really, spreadsheets are from the devil anyway. Like, I can't stand them. I cannot stand them. They're so inefficient and so terrible to work with if you're not doing numbers, right? We were doing project management in our spreadsheet, and it was just awful. And then tasks were getting lost. Like, if someone came to me and said, hey, did we sign the contract for so-and-so conference? I got no idea. I have no idea if I signed the contract or not. I have to go search my inbox. Let me see if I can find it. Is it in a document somewhere? I don't know. I mean, we get 250 requests a month for sponsorship. There's a lot of events, turns out, that community's doing. And so, like, I have no idea if I've sent a contract or not, right? This is bad, because that's kind of something that would be nice to know, especially if I'm unavailable, on vacation, at a bar, whatever. Like, people need to know that stuff. So that was not good. It was kind of like finding Where's Waldo in the whole big mess. And this is just an aside, too. So when I started this talk, we have actually a repo for presentations. You can shove them up there, and people can give you feedback on them or whatever. So one of our designers was like, oh, hell no, you are not having these slides. They're terrible. So, because I'm a developer, I'm not a designer at all. And I thought they were pretty good, but apparently they weren't. So Joel took them, and he made them way better. That's why they look a little bit less crappy than when I did them. But I swear he's trolling me, because I think he took out my Waldo. I really honestly think he did. I've tried for many, many minutes, too long, probably, too long trying to find Waldo in here, and he's nowhere to be found. So if you find him or see him, I will pay you money. Like, I really will, because he's not in here. I think he just kind of, took it out. I don't know. Joel, he's trolling me. You guys are all looking for it now, aren't you? Yeah, I was too. It's not there. You're not going to find it. Pane 5. So we had no metrics at all. We couldn't run any kind of reports, or we didn't have any numbers at all. Like, it was terrible. We didn't know where we were sponsoring things. We didn't know what communities we were giving more love to. Have we done more Ruby conferences, or have we done more PHP conferences? Like, we had no idea what we were doing, really. We also couldn't really plan. Like, if we need to have another person come on our team, we didn't know. We couldn't plan for the future at all. We just really didn't have a good idea what we were doing. And we didn't have a good holistic picture of what we were doing, because we only kept track on the spreadsheet of the ones we said yes to. So the other ones, we just had to say, sorry, we can't support your conference this year, maybe next year. But we didn't put that anywhere. So we had no real good picture of what the community looked like for us. And that was a problem. Pane 6, we had lots and lots of manual labor, which there's a tenet at GitHub that says, don't do shit work. Like, if you're doing shit work, there's probably a script you can write for it, right? So we really try not to do that. And we've learned how to clone sheep, of course, but we haven't really perfected that into humans yet. So when that day comes, then it won't matter. But until then, anything that involves manual labor of any kind is not going to be scalable very much, right? So, and it's very dependent. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much copying and pasting and over things that you can do, tedious shit work that you can do before you go crazy. So that was not good. It really, really wasn't good. So in about July of 2013, we sat down and we were like, all right, we got all these problems. What are we going to do? Like, we got to fix this stuff, right? So yeah, we needed to find some solutions. So it turns out that right in front of our faces were all of these solutions that we could use to solve our problems. I did this part, by the way. Joel did not do this. He added the Batman in the background, but yeah, I did that. I was pretty proud of that day. I patted myself on the back. I was very excited. So we have things like repositories and issues and the GitHub API and gist. Do you guys know what gist is? Is anybody using gist? It's like a little code snippet thing where you can just share text of any kind, code, whatever, document. It's not like a permanent kind of thing. You can have comments on it. People can comment on different things. You can't really comment, not like on a pull request where you can comment on each specific line. You can't do that in a gist. But you can comment, at least not on the web interface. You can comment down below in the general thing. So that's a really, really helpful thing, turns out. So now we have this wonderful thing called sponsorship repo that we shove everything into. We have this little nice handy page on our website at community.github.com. So now if we have a conference that needs some sponsorship, or a hackathon, or a group of some kind, user group or something, they're looking for sponsorship, they can go to this page. They can fill it out for us, give us all of the basic information that we need, how many people, where, when, contact information, sponsorships, document, like the prospectus, they usually put it in a document of all the different opportunities that are available for you. So they give us all of that information up front, and then we use the GitHub API to do some cool stuff with it. I don't know if anybody's using the GitHub API at all in anything. Is anybody? Nobody's using it? All right, that's okay. It's great. If you work with GitHub a lot, it can be extremely helpful for you because you can use the GitHub API to do something that would be specific to your needs. So like if the website's not filling your need, or if you don't want to do command line, or you want to make something easier for someone else in your department, you can do that. The GitHub API, we have great documentation. We have a whole team that works on this. That's all they work on. So it's really important to us. We want people to actively use this. So I encourage you to go check it out if GitHub's your thing. Definitely go check this out. You can do all kinds of stuff, mess with notifications, gist. You can create it through the API so that you can make your own kind of form for people if you think that maybe they won't be willing to use the GitHub web interface, or that might be a little intimidating for them. You could make your own, and then it would just automatically use GitHub on the back end, and they will have no idea. Issues, same thing. Markdown, it does all of that rendering for you, searching, all of that stuff. Pull requests, pretty much anything you can do in the web interface, you can do through the API, which is really, really helpful if you want to create your own kind of thing. all the user information. Of course, emojis. Emojis are huge. We use them all the time. They're wonderful. You guys are so quiet. This is a PHP GitHub API client, which is not, I know this is not a PHP conference, but this is not official. So if anybody is touching PHP at all, this is not official, but it's really, really good to use. So now when someone fills out that handy-dandy form for us, it automatically creates an issue in our sponsorships repository, which is amazing. It's amazing. An issue is magically created. All my information is right there. Right? How badass is that? And that's what this kind of looks like. This is just an example of a request that we got. Right? So this is all happens. I assign myself to it over here. I give it some labels. Some of them are automatically created. We're kind of still messing with that because our label list is getting really long, and we're kind of not sure how we want to go forward with that. But labels I have, open, close, it's got everything I need right there. It's all right there. It's magic. Wonderful. So back when we had inboxes, we had all of these problems, which we have none of these problems now. Okay, it's transparent. Anybody can watch the repository and see what kind of requests we get. Right? All they have to do is subscribe to the repository. Anybody can comment. Anybody can say, yeah, this is a great conference. I went there last year. It was amazing. We have to sponsor this conference. Or they can say, oh, hell no, this was terrible. We do not want to be associated with this conference at all. So now I don't have just my context. I have the whole context of the company at my disposal, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. People are smart. They have knowledge. You should use it. Now things still do kind of get buried just because we get so many, but the likelihood of it getting buried in my email inbox is so much less now because I have an issue. I can see all my open issues at one time. I can see, anybody can see it. And historical purposes, it's always there. It's a permanent record of that request and that conversation that happened because of that request. So if we hire someone new, I don't have to forward her all the emails that ever had to do with this request at all in the past. She can just go search, and she'll find all the repositories from this year, last year, the year before, whatever else. It's pretty awesome, right? I love this so much. And before, we had this huge back and forth with our people. God bless them. Now I just get the information. I don't even have to talk to them at all. They just shows up. It's great. And then I can initiate the conversation. Hey, thanks for the request. Yeah, we can sponsor. No, we can't. Whatever it needs to be. But I can actually talk about real things, not how many people are you going to have? Well, where is it? Well, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can talk to them about awesome opportunities and spend my time that way instead of doing the other. And my hellish, horrible, awful spreadsheets that we dealt with. Isn't that funny? Like I said at the beginning, like you should use your tools in different ways, blah, blah, blah. And that's what we were doing with the spreadsheets. Spreadsheets do not count in that. They are terrible. Don't use them for anything, ever. Sorry, I'm a little angry with them. I still have to use them a little bit because of the financial stuff. Like we do still have to keep track of the money part of it. And if we didn't have to do that, oh my God, I would never touch them again.
What about Google Spreadsheet?
Same thing. They're awful. All of it. All of it. None of it's good. I'm so glad. See, that's why I'm not an accountant. I would never have done that. Even if I loved it, I would have been like, no, I can't. Deal. And then before I had my Where's Waldo of what's going on with whatever. Elizabeth's at the bar. No one knows what's happening with this conference. And now they have it all right there. Anyone can see at any time what's going on. And actually, I should have done our little OctoCat Waldo that we have, which is more appropriate. Yeah, and so before we had no metrics at all. Well, now we have metrics. Ta-da! It's amazing. Now we can see, so this is just a quick little chart that actually our marketing person threw this up together, just using the GitHub API and pulling stuff from the labels. That's kind of the gist of it. This is an example of like the types of conferences that we sponsor. So he just pulled the label up and then spit some numbers out. But we can see where, we can see when, we can see anything we want. And if we're not getting some information, we can just start collecting that or go back retroactively and add it in. But it's all out there for us to do whatever we want with. And before we had to do so much manual stuff. Well, now we don't really have to do so much manual stuff. We do a little still. There is like, personal interaction. It's not like we just have a robot that does everything, but we do have our lovely Hubot. We love Hubot so much. Has anybody seen Hubot or played with Hubot in their campfire rooms or anything? So this is our little chat bot. He's he's open source. You can grab him and use him in your own campfire. He's wonderful. He does everything for us. We deploy to production in the chat room. That's how we deploy. We tweet from our Twitter account from the chat room. We do everything using him. And what makes it awesome is that anybody can do it at any time. I can deploy to production if I want. I'm probably not going to do that because that would probably not be a good thing for GitHub, the company. So I'll probably bring the whole website down and then people will be yelling at us. But I could. So we kind of distribute the responsibility, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? So we have to be responsible. And like the same thing with Twitter. Like anybody can tweet from the GitHub account. And that seems kind of weird when I say that. People are like, oh, you're a social media person. Don't they have control? Or blah, blah. No, we don't have that. We don't have any of that. Because it's out in the chat room and everybody can see. There's a log of it, right? It's transparent. Anybody can see who did it. So if you screw it up, everyone knows it's you. There's no hiding it at all. So it's good. It's good. But you should go check it out. He does tons of stuff. I even wrote a Hubot script. This is my contribution to GitHub. I wrote a Hubot script that would do Etsy me, so you can type /Etsy me in the chat room and Campfire, and then whatever, like beard shampoo or whatever it is you're looking for. And it will pull up a picture, go to Etsy, find it, pull up a picture and link to it for you. So you have it right there in the chat room. I mean, that is amazing, right? Like that's super, super important for the core of our company, I know. But that was my thing. That's about as good as I get anymore. I don't code a whole lot, obviously. OK, so anyway, so we have our sponsorship repo. Well, then when we sponsor something, we get a whole lot of, sometimes get some tickets to that conference as well. Hey, with your sponsorship, you get 4 tickets. Here, have at it. Well, before we had no way to distribute these in our company. And I should say that 30% of our companies in San Francisco, the rest of us are spread out all over the place. We are all over the world, all over the place. I live in Cincinnati. So I go to San Francisco sometimes, but most of the time I'm just working out of my house. So to get this information out to the people who need it is really, really tough sometimes. But we concentrate a lot of our efforts on that. And we do a lot of things asynchronously. That's how we work. We do transparency. We're collaborative. We're asynchronous. So now I can, once I get a new sponsorship, if I have tickets to something, I can put it in the repo with all the information. Here's where the conference is, when it is, whatever. Anybody can see that. So if somebody's in Columbus, I don't have to remember who lives in Columbus. Oh, yeah. Leon Gersing, Jason Long, Chad Humphreys. They can go find this repo, and then they can do it themselves. They can figure it out. So that's really awesome, because then the tickets don't, we can actually use the things that we have. Same thing with speaking opportunities. People will come to us and say, hey, can we have someone from GitHub give us a talk on Git? Sure, let me just figure that out. Like before, we would just throw it in a spreadsheet. Like we had no way to kind of find that person or keep track of who is speaking where or what. So now we have a repository, so anybody who's interested in public speaking, because we love public speaking at GitHub, can just watch the repo and grab any of those opportunities that they want. It's pretty awesome. It's funny, at GitHub, if the conference doesn't pay for us to speak at a place, then GitHub will pay, and they'll also pay to send someone with you so you don't have to go by yourself. I think that's really cool. Like, not very many companies do that, and it's incredibly awesome. It's a really nice benefit that we have at our travel buddies. But I digress. Sometimes we have to send the whole booth set up, right? So then there's a whole set of logistics that goes with that. And that's in another repo, but it's all linked. Like you can interlink the repository so you have all the information when you need it. You just need to follow the trail. But you don't, like if I'm a person who's just interested in speaking opportunities, I don't have to see all of it. I can just see the piece that I care about. Same thing with print requests. That like if we have an ad or something, we have to put in a program for a conference or whatever else, or special swags that we're doing for something. We did this was kind of funny. We did sponsorship for Ruby on Sails conference, which is sailboats. I didn't go. I should have. Sounded pretty awesome, but so we did a little GitHub like pirate flag with the like GitHub guy, and had a little patch on his eye, and it was awesome. But the fascinating thing was because it's all in a repository, all the design work, you could see the iterations, and anybody could comment, anybody could watch that process, which was a really cool process for a non-designer like me to see how you go from initial concept to the end result. Like if something so dumb as a sailboat flag with our logo, pirated logo on there. But it was a really fascinating process, and because I knew the conference, I could kind of interject a little bit, some of my input. So. And then support tickets, We do all of our, even our emailing now is really minimal. We try to not email at all if we can help it. We do things, especially with the outside world, through our support tickets. So if you send me a request and I need to reply to you, I'll go actually through our support system and do that. And anybody in GitHub can answer any support ticket at any time. If you're, sometimes our support accounts will get overloaded. They'll put out, red flag, hey, call for help, little bat signal. And then anybody can jump in and help out. It's really kind of awesome. And it's good for engineers to help out with that stuff as well. They can kind of see what people are really dealing with. Flag requests, same thing. Drink up plans, sometimes we'll do a drink up along with the conference or a meetup. And then again, as I mentioned, the buddy travel. So all of that stuff is connected to the sponsorship repo. It's all linked together. People know what's happening now, and they can see what we're doing, and we're not just some people over on the side. I'm in Ohio, Kira's in Dublin, and we're not this mystery team. It's all out there for anybody to see what it is that we're doing. So that's really awesome, Elizabeth. Of course you're going to use GitHub in your sponsorship thing. So what else do you use at GitHub? So we do onboarding. When someone joins GitHub, they get an issue in a repository with all of their checklists of things they need to do to get their environment set up, all this stuff they need to read, blah, blah, blah. And then when they get an onboarding buddy that kind of mentors them along and helps them along, and they can help with that process as well. They can see what hasn't been done yet. Hey, what's going on? Are you stuck? Can I help? That kind of stuff. Our user experience studies, those are all in repositories. We use the gists a lot with those, so we can kind of collaborate on that documentation. It's not real time, but it is asynchronous, which we prefer, actually. We like that better, because we're in so many different time zones and everything else. Nothing is going to be, I shouldn't say nothing. Very few things are going to be, face-to-face. And that's OK with us. Policy conversations. So for instance, we had been getting requests from libraries for this nonprofit discount. Well, they're not technically nonprofits because they're owned usually by the local, the city, state, whatever. But they are not usually swimming in cash, right? So if we can help them out, that would be great. So we had just opened an issue in our community team repository and just said, hey, what do you guys think about offering, extending this to them? People could weigh in, yes, no. Of course, everyone weighed in, yes, we should help them immediately. So that was kind of a policy. We don't really use the word policy at GitHub. It's more of guidelines. But that was a conversation that we had. And so now if someone comes on board that's new and they don't know what's going on with the library situation, we can say, oh, here's the discussion. Here's why we decided what we did. Let's move on, right? You can go read that. It's fine. Finance, our finance team uses it. They use it a lot for project management. They just switched to a NetSuite implementation, and they did everything. Because in that, I forgot to mention this, but back in the sponsorships repo, when my issue is created, it also creates a task list for me. Using Markdown, we have the task list. So you can check things off. You can sub-tasks and things like that. So the finance team used it quite heavily when they were implementing this new, going to this new system. And then anybody, again, you guys are seeing the common theme, right? Transparency, anybody can see what's going on, anybody can offer to help, anybody can jump in. And I know that sounds like it would be a total nightmare, right? If you have 300 people all giving you their opinions and their voices. And sometimes it does get a little crazy, but that's a rarity. And that's its own problem, is to decide when decision needs to be made. The benefits greatly outweigh that, because everybody, it feels like they're a part and they know what's going on in their own company. It's really important, and it's very, very helpful. Documentation, right? Documentation is the same as code. It's just anything that can be version controlled, you can use a version control system with. So all of our documentation, if you need to change something or think that something should be changed, you just submit a pull request, and then people can review it and comment, and then merge it in. Same thing, same as code. Even office-y things, we use our issues for bathroom in the headquarters, if the bathroom is out of toilet paper. You just file an issue. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You just file an issue, and then they take care of it. It just happens. So it's very helpful. We also do these things called hack houses, which a bunch of engineers, because we are so distributed, and it is fun to get together every now and again and work face-to-face and crank some stuff out. So we'll get together in a destination wherever we want. GitHub will fly everybody in for a week, and you'll crank it out, you'll ship something at the end, and be done. But that needs a little bit of coordination, right? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What are we going to ship? Who's coming? All that stuff. But anybody can see what's going on, and anybody is welcome to join at any hack house. Like I could go hang out with the hack houses anytime I wanted. Our legal team uses it. It's really nice because I think a lot of companies, the legal is like kind of this silo that nobody really knows, like a mystery. Nobody really knows what's going on over there. Nobody really trusts, what's going on. And so our legal, everything's open. So it's really kind of nice just to keep an eye on it, just to watch, how those discussions go. Sometimes I offer input, sometimes I don't. That's fine. But it's all open, and then that really builds the trust, between departments. We even have this for some fun stuff, too. Like we have this internal Craigslist, which I put this in here because I thought this was so funny. So our headquarters are in San Francisco, as I said. And one of our employees put this in here, and she said, "Oh my God, this is the best deal ever. This 574 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom, is for $3,300. Oh my God, you guys got to jump on this." And I'm in Cincinnati, right? It's very similar to Columbus. I'm like, what the hell is going on with you people? And saying, you guys are crazy. Are you kidding me? And she thought, like, by the time this went up, it was already gone. Like, that's how good of a deal this was. Whatever. Like, I will stay in Cincinnati. Don't ever make me move to San Francisco. Like, I won't do it. I will not do that. That is incredibly ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. But, whatever. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I was like, well, have fun with that, guys. That's fun. Yeah, and sometimes when somebody ships something that's cool, we shipped a version of GitHub that was on mobile. So we all do toasts to each other because we're all distributed, so we don't hang out a lot. But, you can just kind of give a virtual high five to somebody. We put it all in a big repo just to say, great job. So Elizabeth, that's awesome. Yay, GitHub, you guys are great. Woo. But what about everybody else? Like what else are people doing? So it's funny, the government actually uses GitHub quite a bit. Like who knew, right? This SFMOCI stands for the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Civic Innovation. And they have the laws are all out there on GitHub for you to look. Now, I've checked. I don't think they'll take pull requests on the laws, unfortunately. Like, that would be awesome if you could just be like, no, we should totally be allowed to do that, and just submit the pull request. And it merges in, ta-da, you can do it. No, so it doesn't work that way, but it is all open. You can go, and you can check it out. It's really pretty interesting. I keep also hoping that someone will write an app. If all the laws go out there that you could scrape through, using the GitHub API, someone will create an app that will search through the law and tell you if you're allowed to do something, right? I just want to know if I'm allowed to do something. So the app will say, hey, I'm in Columbus and I want to spit on the sidewalk. Can I do that? And it will search the law and be like, no, Elizabeth, don't do that. That is terrible. You're a horrible human. You will go to jail. Like, I would love that. It would be so great because, you can go to different places. You don't know what you can do and what you can't do. So that's just a free idea. It's a total moneymaker for anyone who wants to take it. This is funny. United States, there's a glossary out there on GitHub. So it's pretty much like their definitions of what things mean. It's funny to see what they think things mean versus what we think things mean. So you should go check that out. City of Philadelphia, they have their complaint data is all out there in a big CSV file. You can totally download that and scrape that. If you want to know where not to go, I guess, if you're going to break the law in the law app, you should probably not go to any of these places where there might be some police brutality or something, I don't know. And then Chicago has all their bike racks, just for example, are all out there in open source. So anybody can scrape that information and put it in an app for public usage. So it's really cool to see this kind of open data movement. So it helps everybody, I think. It's awesome. Science, too, is a big thing. We just we just announced we're doing science discounts, same as education discounts for any science researchers. So if you know any, tell them to come to GitHub and get their free accounts so they can play around and put their research out there so that other people can see what they're doing. There's a really big movement called the Center for Open Science. They're kind of the ones driving this whole thing. It's really great because, scientists traditionally have been secretive and people are working on the same things and it's kind of ridiculous. So let's just come together and collaborate a little bit more. This is kind of cool. Authors are using it now, which I think is great. Because you can submit, if you find something wrong, you can just submit a pull request or file an issue. And it's like a direct link to the author. You don't have to go to a book. So back in the day, I wrote a PHP book. And by the time was published, it was like out of date. Like it was already, you know, like this is not even the case anymore. It was already out of date. So ridiculously long process. It was like 8 months to get this thing published. It was crazy. It was through Rox Wiley. So just a very traditional way. So I'm not dissing traditional publishers, but I think they could maybe be a little more efficient, especially in the technology industry. Because these kinds of things are like immediate, you know, and so if something changes, they just change it, and it's done. There's no long, drawn-out process of all of that, so it's pretty great. This is kind of cool. This is one of our GitHubbers. His name is the Daniel. So he bought this old motorcycle, and he's fixing it up, and he's tracking his progress on GitHub. So he has his list of issues that he wants to fix with the bike. And anybody can see it. It's at XL600. I haven't looked recently to see how his progress is coming, but if you know anything about bikes and you want to help him out or see what he's doing, you can absolutely go to this and see, which I think is pretty cool. Pretty much anything that you can keep track of, right? Like your bug trackers or your tools, they can help you. They can really, really help you. And if it's on a place like GitHub, it's just a little bit more transparent and collaborative. Do you guys know what this is? The Reddit snoo guy? You guys Reddit fans, maybe, maybe not. You can get the knitting pattern. You can knit this little guy. How awesome is that? Right? It's a document, essentially, right? A knitting pattern is a document. So you could branch that off. You could fork it. You could do what you want with it. You could either submit it back if you found a better way to make that happen. Make this little guy. You could submit it back to her, or you could just fork it and do your own thing with it. Right? It's just a document. It's just like everything else. This one's kind of good. This one has, I think at last I checked, it was like 380 taco recipes. Like, who knew? Who knew tacos were so versatile? I did not. I'm more of a burrito person, so I don't know. But apparently tacos are equally as versatile. And, you know, again, a recipe is just a document. So if you have a better way to do something, then you can fork it or branch and submit back in, right? Submit the pull request. It's the same thing as code. There's no difference. And this is a really funny story. So I was giving this talk at a PHP conference in Florida, and a friend of mine who does the Zen framework, he said, "Oh, have you seen Evan and Alyssa's relationship repo?" And I said, "No, I have not seen that. I should see that." So if you want a big chuckle, these guys have created a repository for their relationship, and it's all in jest. Don't worry, it's pretty funny. But it'll be like, so like if Evan will file a bug on Alyssa, like Alyssa can't seem to find something to eat, and the expected result, or she goes, the behavior is she goes to the pantry and sees the food that we have. Expected result is that she gets something out of the pantry, but the actual result is that she just stands there staring and says, "Hey, we have nothing to eat," when clearly we have lots to eat. It's hilarious. It's really, really funny. So if you guys are into nerdy humor, you would dig it. I chuckled heartily when I read it. It was really funny. One more. We're almost done. So this guy, Frabkus, bought an old house. And I think this was in Wired Magazine or The Atlantic or something. But he actually put all of his issues out there on GitHub of everything that he wanted to fix with his house. And he used the repository also to like house all of his building permits, and all of that stuff was kind of collected in this one repository. So again, like you could go and see, you know, like what kind of progress he's making. Where is he stuck? Did he redo his floors yet? I don't know, like those kinds of things. Then if you're a master floor refinisher, you could go offer your advice to Frabkus and see what's going. You can use this, you know, personally too. Like we use it at home for all the crap we need to fix around the house, just in a private repository. My boyfriend that I live with also works at GitHub, so we live together, we work at home together. It's pretty awesome, and we haven't killed each other. It's fantastic. It's so great. He's an engineer, and I'm not. We're not on the same team or anything, so maybe that would be different. I don't know. But yeah, so we can do all this kind of nerdy stuff, right? And our friends are like, what is happening here? What is this? Like, I don't know what this is. But it's great for us. It works great. So, so I just basically want you to think about some of the problems that you're having and look at them from a different perspective and see if there's any tools in your toolbox that you already have access to, that you already know really, really well, and see how you can maybe apply those to some of the problems that you have. just make sure you get to know them. I'm Elizabeth at github.com if you want to email me if you have any questions or want to chat, whatever. You can also see me on Twitter at Elizabeth. And that is it. So thank you guys. Do I have any questions? Questions? I think we're a little bit early. We got some time. Yeah.
So you talk about legal, different non-technical people using this.
Yeah.
How do they talk about it? So are they saying, I need to do a pull request, I need to fork that? Or do they have... We're
the terminology. Yeah, so when we onboard new employees that are not in engineering, maybe in other departments, that's a big part of it because it is kind of a weird thing. And you think like, well, how would I ever get our legal department to even talk about this stuff or be open to it at all? And I think if you did want to have that conversation with them, so GitHub has a ton of training materials on our site. It's just training.github.com. There's kits. There's all kinds of stuff. And I believe, if it's not there yet, it might be soon. There are tools for you to speak to non-technical people in these kinds of terminologies. As I really think the benefits outweigh that learning process if you can.
Are they using the website too?
Pretty much, yeah.
Command line or
No.
the website and they're using it.
Yeah, the website. We also have GitHub for Mac, which some of them do use, or GitHub for Windows. We're primarily a Mac shop, but we have both of those tools too, which are GUIs. So they're a little less intimidating than just flat out command line, but for the most part, most of them just use the web. And again, it's just kind of taking time. Like if they would be willing to maybe have an hour with you and you could show them how things work or how it would benefit them and benefit everybody, that if you can make that step and then get them to at least be open to the idea or at least talk about the idea, like I think it's so helpful. It really is. So I don't know. But hopefully maybe there's some tools on our website that you can use to kind of make that happen. And if not, I mean, we have trainers too that we do a lot of that training in-house to GitHub for non-technical people. We don't like that word non-technical. It sounds weird, but you know what I'm trying to say. So we could have somebody come to you if it's something that enough people want, but they're not really sure how to implement that or how to go about that. We could help you with that too, but no biggie. There was another question somewhere. Yeah. Hi.
So when you mentioned asynchronous communication,
Uh-huh.
can you define or describe that a little bit more as far as what is this nature of asynchronous communication?
So as I said, we're completely spread out, all time zones, everywhere. So the idea that everyone should be available immediately all the time doesn't work. And we're very flexible too. So like even though I'm on the East Coast, I may not be at my desk from 9 to 5 every day. I'm here now. I'm traveling to Chicago later this afternoon. Like people do stuff. I have kids. I have to pick them up from school. Like people have things going on. And so the whole idea of that immediate response or demand really isn't in our vocabulary. Everything is a request. Hey, when you get a second, can you? And if it's something that is a little more urgent, then you can express that and they'll respect that. I'll get back to you. If you could just get, if you could get back to me as soon as you can, that would be great. But it's not this, where are you? Why aren't you at your desk? I need to talk to you right now. Like no, that's not acceptable at all because, it's really hard to keep track of where everybody is and people travel so much. So we do use email when we need to, if it's something of more, personal nature. But we use a lot, again, of the issues and the repositories and the pull requests because you can just comment on things. And then when I have time, I can sit down on my computer on my time and look and see and comment back on a thoughtful way and not have to worry about the pressure of, oh my gosh, they're waiting for me. Now, granted, that's on most of the departments. There are certain departments like ops that it doesn't really work. Like ops are a little more urgent, right? Like if shit's going down, like you got to be there. But for everybody else, like that's the way we choose to work. And we do have chat, as I mentioned before, so that if someone happens to be in the same area or happens to be online, you can have that conversation. You can do IM or you can do a Google Hangout or something if you want to talk face to face. But that's more of the exception to the rule. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Very helpful.
Anybody else have a question? Yeah.
So how do you think this is scalable? So let's say a company that has like
So that's an excellent question. We have not had to deal with that yet, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know. I really can't answer that at all. I know that, I mean, from a technological standpoint, it's fine. Like the load, you know, it would be fine. It's the communication that you might have to worry about. Yeah, that's a really good question that I do not have an answer to. You could be our, do you work for a company of 30,000 employees? You could totally be our like pilot and try to like push this through and see how it goes.
How many GitHub employees are
We only have 230 right now. So yeah, we're on the small side. So you know, but we are growing. Well, it'll take us a while probably to get to 30,000. I don't know if we'll ever get there. If we want to get there, I don't know. I don't know. Anybody have any other questions? Oh yeah, sure.
So I'll admit that I'm not as familiar with GitHub as I could be, but from what you're describing, it basically just sounds like a fancy wiki.
Wiki, actually we do have wikis as a part of it, but it's much deeper than that. So we're doing everything in the back end. We're using the Git, obviously, version control. So all of the files, all of the documents, things like that are controlled through that. So you have all the power of Git. So you can revert, you can rebase, you can do all the things that you could do with Git using the web interface, if that makes sense. So it's a lot more powerful than just making documents look pretty and searchable. Does that make sense? Sort of, kind of.
So, but if I'm looking at wikis, then it shouldn't be that big of a jump for me.
No, but yeah, there's a whole lot more to it than just words on a page. Like the things that are happening behind the scenes are a lot more complicated, I guess is the right word, than just a document that you see. Does that make sense? I don't think I'm speaking very clearly. I'm really sorry. I mean, we do have so Wiki is a part of it. Like if you have a project out on GitHub, a software development project or software project, open source project, whatever it is, there's a Wiki piece to that, but there's also issues, which would be more like a bug tracker. And there's also, well, the pull requests actually deal with the code itself in that way. So I don't think I'm being very clear. I'm not answering your question very well. The gist of it? All right, I'm sorry. If you have any other questions, just email me, and I'll be happy to answer them better than I am right now. I'm sorry. There was another question over here. Yeah?
You mentioned that you use checklists
Mm-hmm.
on it for onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use these checklists as like a document that they would, print or use online, or is it a form, like a coded form, where you can track how someone's doing, and if they have questions, they can communicate to you via the same onboarding?
So it would open an issue in that repository, in our onboarding. We have one repository for onboarding. So everyone that's an employee gets their own issue or a bug tracker in that place, in that spot. So that let me go back to this one and show you really quick. I don't think I have internet here, or I would show you online, but I don't think we have internet. So when that issue is opened, let me find this one here. Here we go. So you can't see it. You can just see the very first one. So this is what the page would look like in the onboarding repository. And it would say, hey, Joe, welcome to GitHub. Here's all the things you need to do. And it will have a list. So down here, this is just from mine, it would say, open your computer, right? And then you would check that off. So all of these would be listed in this issue. And as they update it, it will just keep it checked. So anybody then can just open this page and see what's been checked and what hasn't. Does that make sense? OK. Yeah, and to speak to your question about the wikis, like this is just the issue part of it. I wish I had internet. I would show you the rest. Oh, is it? OK, now if I get IMs or crazy things, like don't judge me, OK? I'm just going to say that right now. What is it, OSU guest?
You cut out on it. I tried.
Wi-Fi at OSU?
You can sign in as the guest.
Maybe. Okay, let's see here. Let me do my display here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, okay. How do I, arrangement, there we go. Mirror displays, there we go, here we go. All right, we got it. We're cooking with oil now. Okay. Oh, not blog. Oh, you know what? I was going to say it'll probably go in employee, so hold on a minute. Can I connect to the real GitHub? Yeah. Let me see here.
You have to agree to their terms.
Because there's things that you guys can't see. I don't want to let you see. I'll get in trouble. We might not have time. What time is this over at 11? Oh, sweet. Okay.
So you have 20 more minutes.
Actually, what I want to do is
So Elizabeth, while you guys really value transparency and the sharing and the collaboration, is there also the functionality to manage groups or permissions, if you will?
absolutely, yeah.
So if you did wanted to have some appropriately contained collaboration, you could do that as well?
Yep, you can. Why won't this work? Oh, gosh.
Drag the menu bar.
That's good. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Yay, thank you. I couldn't quite grab that.
It's all for the book. Unbelievable. You now have an access database that creates a rally storage.
And it's not letting me load this.
Smart enough. You guys ready to go? I'm gonna get out. I'll be out for today.
The internet is like completely crashing for me. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try the OSU guest, I think.
Once you hit it, you still have to go to like the login screen. And set
Yeah, I did, and I got the OSU homepage, but I can't seem to pull up anything else. which is kind of dumb. And that is not what I want. Okay. Okay, I think I can do this again. If hopefully nothing embarrassing will happen here, but let me go back over here to my system preferences and get this up for you guys. Okay, so this is what it would look like if you were just to go to a GitHub repository, right? This was, we were messing around with some in-house training stuff, so we just set up these play repositories. So, so every project would have a README on it, which is right, this is ours right here. It's not big, right? But you can go in here, and this is the README file. So this could be a code, a piece of code, it could be anything, but in this case it's just a readme.md, which is for Markdown. So if I wanted to edit this, I would just go into edit and say, here is some stuff. I could preview it then, because I'm using Markdown, we can preview that. That's green, says that's the part I'm gonna add in. This code, if I wanted to take this part out, if I went to preview, it's telling me this is the part I took out. That's the part I'm going to add in. So yes, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say, okay, these are the changes that I wanted to make. Add my sentence. And then if I want to say why or what my thought process is in, or if I want to say, hey, Bob, I want to add this sentence, like specifically call him out, I can do that. And then I want to commit my changes. This doesn't actually change anything. Actually, it did change. It should have created a pull request, and I'm not sure why it didn't. Oh, here it is. Okay, so over here now in my pull requests. Oh, that was from something else, sorry. All right, we're going to try this again here. Let me, new file. So I want to make a new file here. This, oops. This is a new file. And just like this could be code, or it could be a document, or it could be anything. Create new file. is that not doing pre? So I can create, if I want someone to collaborate with me on that, okay, I would create a pull request here under the pull request button. And I would compare, I'm going to make my new branch. So my branch is called Elizabeth. There isn't anything to compare because I don't have anything in my branch. Yeah.
You guys could do on the repo. Yeah, no pull request.
So I don't know why, but I can go back and see my, see the history. I can see all kinds of stuff here. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it's not, it should create a pull request here and it's not doing that. So I guess maybe because I was the original.
Yeah, if you own it.
Hmm.
So if you go into that master drop down, you'll have your.
Okay. So yeah, if I had somebody else wanted to, if somebody else is on GitHub and wants to submit a pull request, I could show that. But you could see it.
We were talking about, so you had your ecosystem with all your different repos?
Yes,
and
yeah.
in the middle and does it become noisy? So if how do I collaborate? How is it open enough that I know that you're talking on the tickets repo as opposed to the upcoming conferences repo without getting a bunch of chatter? I don't know, what's the process of that? Are you constantly looking at the repos to see what's out there, or are you getting emails?
So I choose the email notification system, and then I use Gmail filters to kind of help me manage that part of it. So other people prefer to do everything on the web. So if you go up here to notifications, you'll see all my private stuff here. But yeah, don't look at that. But yeah, so you can do it on the web or you can do it in email. Either way, whatever's more comfortable for you.
Does it become too difficult to manage them?
You can unwatch too if there's one, like you want to watch the repo but you don't want to watch a specific issue because people are just talking too much in that. You can absolutely unwatch that issue.
Okay.
That's not a problem at all. So anyway, so that's what that looks like. Issues would look like this. Maybe, if it will pull up. So this was, it puts the pull requests and the issues all in one. So let's create a new issue and just say training for Elizabeth on how repos work. I'm just kidding.
Is that for or from?
For Elizabeth, like I clearly need to like level up my skills here. I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know if it just works different for us or what is going on, but like whenever we do this, it just automatically will create that pull request for me. So I'm kind of like perplexed why it's not doing that. And I thought that I guess maybe this is yeah, like you said, because I own this document, but I don't know. And maybe I guess so the others would be owned by the GitHub organization. That's what it is. All right, I'm an idiot. I clearly need more coffee here. So then I'm going to say, here is my issue and my things to do. So I can do my markdown list here, read some stuff, and I think I need to put a space there, learn some stuff. And then I would just submit a new issue. I could have previewed that. Let me preview that. So that's what it's going to look like when I submit that. So I'll submit that issue. Okay, now this is going to be something that I work on until I'm done. I read some stuff, and then I learned some stuff, and now I'm just going to close the issue. All done. Yay. And then I closed my issue. So it's open there. It's in my face. It's bugging me until I'm done with it. And the same thing with all my sponsorship requests, right? So I have a request for a sponsorship for this conference, say, for example. Well, when I get all my stuff done, then I can close it, and I know it's all taken care of. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Yes, if it's a public repository, that means anybody can see it, so you wouldn't want to put any kind of sensitive information in there. But yes, those are all free. If you wanted some private ones, we have a plan that's, it goes from small to big depending on how many repositories you want. Our first plan is like micro, and it's 5 repositories for like $7 a month, I think it is. So.
So if you have, as an organization, so
Uh-huh.
let's say I'm a nonprofit and I have stuff that I do internally and I have stuff that goes out to the public.
Uh-huh.
Can I have a private and a public and then move events between the two, so I can plan it in private and then deploy it to the public calendar and have everybody see it?
Yep, absolutely. As a matter of fact, so with a nonprofit, you would get a bronze account, which is 10 private repositories that you can use however you want. Other people, like not just the devs, could use it. You know, you could use them however you wanted. So yeah, definitely. There is a little button that will say, click to make this repository public. Is that what you mean? Or you mean just the the website and public data things?
I don't know enough about GitHub to say one way
Okay,
or
okay.
It's a matter of we do, one of the organizations I'm part of, we do public outreach stuff.
Yeah.
So Hashtag Humanity, whatever, training, whatever. So the idea is there a way that we can organize it locally within the community, within our group, and then as we go out to say, hey, here's the event we're hosting, show it so that anybody within the greater area can come with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use, not a problem at all. That's a really good idea, actually. That's great.
One of the things I've always been curious about is how much interaction you guys have with some of the other cloud services that are tied to GitHub or that link to GitHub real seamlessly, like Travis.
Right.
You know, I know we use GitHub and we use Travis CI, and if there's a problem, we usually just look at the Travis campfire, the GitHub issues, or GitHub status.
Right.
But behind the scenes, do you guys communicate a lot with those other sort of big cloud providers, or is it sort of just like campfire and issues?
That's a good question. I want to say we don't do a whole lot of that unless it's something that's out of the ordinary, super urgent, that they would. But like they're not in our internal campfire or anything like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I kind of envision like this other layer of communications that happens between all you guys, but maybe it's not there, and maybe it doesn't need to be. I'm just like if you guys I know you guys commit code all the time, and so do they. So it's not like, hey, we have a release coming up, so plan
Right.
for this. It's pretty fast paced probably, but I know you have like sort of like the bug squasher person who's on point to handle things. And I'm just curious how much communication there is between those two.
Yeah, we don't do a whole lot of that. We do have a developer program. Where is that? Is that under here? Yeah, so we have this developer program that we kind of assist you if you want to, but that's in the very early stages. It wouldn't be like an ongoing.
Sure.
Hey, I'm Travis. Hey, we're having a problem, GitHub. Blah blah blah. Just so you know, like there isn't any of that to my knowledge, unless it's something that's like I said, extraordinary that needs some kind of immediate. But yeah, we're not in there. We're not in their campfire. They're not in ours. Like there's not really a kind of a communication channel there, I don't think.
So like when you guys do have an outage or something like that, you were talking about anybody can commit code and anybody can, communicate via these, the social stuff.
Yep.
Can anyone in GitHub go in and say, hey, here's the status, we're having a problem with OAuth right now, or?
Yeah, anybody could. Usually it's the ops team because they have the firsthand information on that. Like I wouldn't go and do that because I'm not privy to that information. So they're the ones that are working on the problem that know that there is something going on. So yeah, one of the ops teams would just tweet from their ops room and their campfire to the GitHub status. But in theory, yeah, anybody could could tweet to that. Anybody could tweet to any of the we have several other GitHub accounts too, like for training and for education and for community and stuff. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of? Okay. So anyway, so that's how issues work. And then the wiki, you mentioned the wiki. So the wiki is this part of it. So if I wanted to, make some really long documentation for my software project, this is where I would do it. So that would be easy for my user to interface with me. They could do it here. So, hey guys. And then this, you can make it look really pretty, just from this interface. OSU is awesome. So, and then I would say, this is what I'm changing. I'm adding, just so there's like a history, of course. So I could just put that in there. And then it's here. And then if I wanted to see, if I wanted to clone it, I could clone it. I can clone it locally. I can do all kinds of stuff with it. Does that make sense? The difference between the wiki piece of it and the rest of things a little bit? So I can watch this. I can unwatch it. I can start if I wanted to have that float to the top or just look at the ones I'm interested in. And if I wanted to fork it, then I could totally do that. I won't fork it to GitHub. I won't fork it to Atom. But I could. So we'll go back to Elizabeth. And here's my. So all of my, in theory, so my code would go here, just for as an example. Create that. I don't need anything, and then I can just commit. And again, if I was trying to commit this to a repository that I didn't own, it would say, do you want to create, it looks like you're making changes to this file, would you like to create a pull request? And so that would create that over here so that the person who did own the repository could look and review your changes and then say, yes, this change is awesome, I want to merge it. So I'm going to go ahead. This was from an old thing, so a pull request that I had already submitted. So I could just say, the person reviewing this could just say, yeah, that's great. If they didn't like it, they could say, no way am I going to merge this, you are crazy. And they could close it then at that point, or they could just comment. And then they could merge the pull request. And that would merge it back into. So I've just merged into our master. Someone somewhere is probably like, what is this? This is from March of last year. What's happening? And then I can just delete my branch because they've already merged it and it's done. And you can always get that stuff back if you delete. That's the greatest thing about Git ever. You can always get stuff back. That's like my favorite part of it. Because I mess up a lot. Clearly, I mess up a lot. So, and then I could unsubscribe myself from these notifications if I didn't want to get any more emails or anything about it. Unless somebody specifically says, hey, Elizabeth, come back to the conversation. Then I would get a ping on that. And so here was the commit that was made, was the thing, and we changed one file, and that's what the file consisted of. So now if I was to go into my master, I would see that file there. Does that all make sense? And then gists are over here. I don't know if I can click on that safely because I have some stuff in there. But gists are there. You should go play with them. That's if you just want a quick code snippet that you just want someone to see really quick and comment on. You don't want to like go through the whole rigmarole of like the pull request. And this isn't anything official. It's just like a little document that I wanted to get your input on. So super, super helpful. I love these issues. They're fantastic. The labels you can use and change. Like I can just see which ones are assigned to me. You can use milestones. I don't use them too much, but people do. They're really helpful. We could say, okay, this one's due here. Yeah, that's passed. Here we go. I'm going to create my milestone. So then over here, I can and then I can assign that milestone, and that tells me that my issue is due on May, whatever. The markdown, that is actually, I have a little markdown cheat sheet somewhere. Here we go. So there's a help document on our site, and it's, so traditional markdown is made by somebody else, which is, here's the basics of it. Like, we didn't create that. We have a little twist on some things and how they work with our stuff, but here's all, here's how you do lists, here's how you do that kind of stuff. Links. So it's sort of HTML-ish, not entirely. But we use that extensively through any kind of commenting or the issue creation, the gists, all of that stuff. So what else do you guys want to see? Anything? Any other questions? It was a little rocky there for a while, wasn't it? I was feeling pretty awkward up here, sorry. Thanks for bearing with me. Everyone left. I know they're out there going, oh my God, does she even work there? Does she even know? What is she doing? It's okay, it's all right. Won't be the first, won't be the last, I'm sure. So anyway, go to GitHub, play with it, do some stuff, track your progress on your house or whatever it is you want to do. Yeah, and hopefully that will be helpful to you, because that's really what we're all about, is trying to help you out. So thanks, you guys, for bearing with me. I appreciate it.